Hey folks, Eric the Old Jarhead here. So I decided to do something a little different today, and hopefully you'll stick with me and come along for this little different ride. I'm laughing because I can't help thinking about something that is kind of, well, a little off topic. So first of all, let me tell you what's going on in the video here, just so you can kind of follow along with what's going on in my crazy mind. But so we've got this pretty good sized log here. Oh gosh, I think it was close to 18 inches in diameter on the small end. And the customer had asked if I could mill 2-inch slabs out of it. And actually, what he really wanted was something in the 2x12 range, whatever I could get. And I think on this log, just due to the shape and the taper and that kind of stuff, I think I ended up getting 2x11s out of it. So as this video is going on, just bear in mind that my mind works in crazy ways, and so this story that I'm laughing about a little bit right now that I'm going to tell you is kind of because of this log. And as I'm milling this log up, I've got this, you know, decent sized ponderosa pine, lots of blue stain in it, beautiful log, and I'm going to mill this into some heavy 2x12s for his workbench, and it's going to build a really heavy workbench. And so I'm getting this log up on the deck and I'm milling this log, and I started thinking about something that has intrigued me for most of my life. And if you follow along, you're going to see where this all ties together here. So bear with me. But so as a kid, I grew up in British Columbia, Canada. So born in Oregon, raised in British Columbia, back to the US when I joined the Marine Corps in '86. So growing up in Canada, there was something going on in Canada that has been going on a long time that interested me. I probably read about it in the Reader's Digest or something like that. And what it is it's the money pit. And if you haven't heard about the money pit, in short, what the money pit is, it's believed to be a buried treasure of some kind on an island called Oak Island out in the Atlantic, off the coast of Nova Scotia. And as a kid, I'd read about this. I guess some young boys had seen a light on the island, and they were on the coast, and they rowed over there to investigate what was going on the island. And when they got to approximately where they saw the lights, they find a depression in the earth under an old oak tree, and there's some rope or something hanging from the tree, and they think, oh my gosh, we found a treasure pit of some kind. We found where some pirates buried their treasure or something like that. So they start digging, and they get down about 10 feet and they find some oak timbers, and long story short, they dig down about 90 feet, and they keep finding these layers of timbers about every 10 feet. And then they find a rock which has some inscription on it, and so on and so forth. And so that story is something that has intrigued me most of my life. Maybe because of the adventurer soul in me. I just love the idea of adventure. But what does that have to do with milling, though? Right here I'm milling up a log to make some 2x12s. And green 2x12s are heavy. And that kind of, I don't know, something about milling up lumber sometimes causes me to think about other things. But what does it have to do with milling? Well, that's where the sawmill comes in. So the one thing that these guys are trying to find gold that is supposedly down around 100 to 150 feet somewhere, and they do all this science to find this gold, and they haven't found a damn thing yet. Well, they have actually. They found something. They just haven't found a lot of gold, right? And in fact, I always joke that the gold that they find is really in their History Channel show, right? That's paying them something, though I don't think it's paying even remotely close to what they're spending, right? They've spent probably tens of millions of dollars to try to find this gold or silver that's supposedly down in the money pit, which is an interesting story of itself. But all they've really found is big oak timbers. That, folks, is what I've been thinking about. Setting aside the whole story of the money pit and all that interesting stuff, and you can go watch the show on the History Channel, and I kind of enjoy it. It's, I don't know, maybe I'm a glutton for punishment. The commentator is kind of annoying at times. A potentially important clue. He says that over and over again, and it's like, okay, dude, stop, please stop. But what I keep thinking about is they keep doing these, you know, this season they put in these 10-foot caissons, which is a big, massive pipe, and they're putting these things down like 150 feet into the earth. That's insane. I mean, I can't even imagine what it costs to do that. But what they're getting when they excavate these massive holes they're putting in the ground is they're getting all these old oak timbers. Some of them that are dating well before the discovery of the money pit itself, meaning that, you know, these kids discovered it somewhere around 1790 or something like that, and they're carbon dating these timbers into the early 1700s or older. And so that's kind of intriguing, but what I find interesting about it, and the reason I'm kind of chuckling a little bit while I'm milling this log here, is those were all built by hand. Nobody had an LT40 hydraulic sawmill with a computerized simple set in order to adjust and do everything that they do. All they had was axes and adzes, which is a kind of like an axe that's turned the other way, and maybe some hand saws, and they were hewing these massive oak timbers out of trees that they had to fall by hand with an axe and then drag over to wherever they were going to chop them into timbers and then put them down on the ground. And so here I am, I'm milling these 2x for this customer, and I keep thinking about Oak Island and how these Knights Templars or whoever they were had to do all of that by hand. And I mean, I thought it was bad using a chainsaw mill, but I can't even imagine what it would take to mill timbers using an axe and an adze and maybe a handsaw. Absolutely insane. So anyway, I just wanted to share that with you, kind of let you know where this crazy old jarhead's mind goes sometimes. I mean, could you imagine doing this by hand? Are you kidding me? I can't imagine doing it by hand, not at all. That's some crazy stuff. I mean, how on earth did they do it back before automation? I mean, I'm here running a practically automated sawmill. I mean, sure, I gotta walk beside it, I've gotta, you know, I gotta control it and all that kind of stuff, and there's a little labor involved, you know, rolling the logs up onto the mill, that kind of thing, but doing it by hand, no hydraulics. Okay, I ran a manual sawmill previously. That's how I started out, you know, a chainsaw mill and then with a manual sawmill, and so I've done a fair amount of working by hand. And let me tell you, working by hand is the reason I've got a hydraulic sawmill with computerized set works. I mean, you know, so doing this by hand, taking an axe and hand hewing an oak log of all things. We're not talking about a soft pine log like I'm milling right here, right? We're talking about oak, hard as rock oak, and then doing that with an axe and an adze and maybe a handsaw. And I gotta believe that they must have started in the morning and worked on it for days. Crazy, unbelievable. Cannot imagine doing that. But at the same time, it's fun to kind of think about the difference of having to do this by hand or doing it on a hydraulic sawmill with simple set works. So anyway, there you have it. Crazy, isn't it? I mean, unbelievable. And if you haven't seen the show, go watch it. And if nothing else, you see these big, massive timbers getting pulled out of the ground. And you got to think about that. How hard was that to do? Incredible. As always, if you like what you see, do me a favor. I'd love it if you'd hit that like button. Thank you for doing that. And of course, if you haven't subscribed, do that. More videos coming out soon, and I'll actually talk more about what I'm milling and why I'm doing it and how I'm doing it, so hang in there with me. I just wanted to share this crazy thought I had about Oak Island and milling massive timbers versus using a modern sawmill like this to take logs and turn them into usable lumber. Just kind of something fun, and if you've watched Oak Island, put it in the comments. Let me know what you think about Oak Island and the money pit. Y'all take care. The old jarhead out.